Hello everyone, my name is Pratik and I'm the Marketing and Communication Manager at IXR Labs. And I welcome you all to our webinar, Why Virtual Reality is a Necessity for Higher Education. And I have with me Dr. Kaushal Kumar Bhagat. He is an Assistant Professor at Advanced Technology and Development Center, IIT Kharagpur. Welcome to the webinar, sir.
Thank you, Pratik.
Yeah. So, sir, I'd like to start the webinar by talking about your journey with virtual reality and what really got you excited about the technology and how do you see its future?
Right. So I think before going to my initial journey with virtual reality, let me just give me a background about my educational background, right? So I'm not an engineer. I am basically actually mathematician. So I did my master's in mathematics and then I was a school teacher. I did my master's in 2012 and then from 2012 to 2013, I was a school teacher. And one of my friend, he was doing his PhD in SUTT, Singapore University of Technological Design. And then somehow he motivated me that I was good in academy, so but I don't have any interest for the PhD program. I was just thinking that to be a good teacher, right? So then he motivated me and then I started my application. So I applied in different universities in abroad. I got some acceptance in UK, but because of the funding issues, so I was not able to get that. But then I met one of who is my PhD supervisor also, and I had discussed with him, and then I applied NTNU and I got fellowship in Taiwan National Fellowship, and I joined a PhD program in September 2013. So I visited first time my supervisor's lab. So his name is actually Professor Chunyan Chang. So I visited his lab, Chang's lab, and I was fascinated. So I think Oculus released in the first one was DK1, I think in 2012, and the commercial version was in 2013. And now if you see the Oculus is much more sophisticated, but before that it was huge and heavy. Huh? But then I entered and then he asked me, have you seen this device? Do you have any idea about this? So I said, not much idea. I haven't seen. So then he said, why don't you try this? And there was a game, a roller coaster. Okay. So then I tried that roller coaster and I felt that, my God, what is this? So it took me to another world, okay, which is not existing, right? The experience that I have got and the psychology, because I have my B.Ed degree also, okay. So in there I have learned about the psychology also. So I was just fascinated with this technology, that how it is manipulating human psychology, right? So when even I am creating an artificial environment or a physical world, but the compelling immersion that is being created using virtual reality is taking you, is making you think that you are in that world which I have created. And that I think that is the point which made me that yes, I think I should go for this type of research. So then I started my research from 2013 to 16 about augmented reality and virtual reality, basically for the educational purpose. So my idea is that how we can develop low cost technology which should be scalable in nature, and how we can make teaching and learning process more engaging, effective and interactive. And I think augmented reality and virtual reality are these two emerging technologies in the 21st century. In my belief, I believe this. Now we can also collectively we can say that extended reality, which includes everything, are going to change the dynamics and you can find out the industry is also, before that there was only Oculus, now then it came to STC, and now you can see that Samsung is there, HP is there, and now Facebook already got the Oculus, and so many other companies. If you go in China, so every different companies are already existing there. So too much competition is already existing. Before that, there was monopoly of some few companies they are taking. So this is my journey for virtual reality.
So in fact, sir, I recall my own fascination to with regards to VR. So it happened in a Comic Con, so where I saw a Google Cardboard, and I just wore it, and then I saw a theatrical experience. So, and I think that was a time when VR was basically associated with gaming. But
Right.
now I think we are seeing a transition from, I think 2016 was the year of virtual reality, when we have seen that a lot of educators and technology enthusiasts, they start believing that the transition from gaming to
Yeah.
education, the various industrial application. So
Yes.
one thing which I would like to understand and is that now we have a new concept called the metaverse, and a lot of people, and in fact the professors I have talked to, and a lot of technological enthusiasts, that the somewhere people feel that VR is equal to the metaverse, and it's quite similar to the metaverse. So do you
Hmm.
see like a difference between both the technologies, and what similarities do you see between both the concepts?
Okay. So, as you are very much right, that 2016 actually celebrated as year of the virtual reality. So I was working after my Taiwan. I was in Beijing. I was working for one industry, NetDragon website, which is one of the largest gaming company in the world, and they develop a lot of VR games. And in 2016, China also celebrated. China is also one of the country which celebrated year of virtuality, including Japan, US, other stuffs. And yes, so I believe that metaverse, if virtual reality is one of the tool, we can say, in the or a part, or in mathematics I can say metaverse is a set and virtual reality is a subset under the metaverse. Okay, so the and sometimes metaverse, I feel it's little hype also. You can see during the COVID, right? Metaverse got a lot of attention from whether it's the industry, whether it's the corporate, whether it's from the educators. But that is now, I feeling that it's fading. You can see now not much discussion is going on about metaverse technology. Now more um, about the artificial intelligence and other stuffs are being going on, right? So we need to wait, because how long it can survive, because whether it is fading or it will continue, how much interest industry is showing. Because see, virtual reality is where you are using this and you are having a experience. For metaverse, suppose the people are saying that the meeting will be in the metaverse. In fact, I think MIT or Harvard University, they launched one online course also in metaverse. So we need to see that what is the success rate of these things that the people are doing with the metaverse. So we should not comment at present. We should wait for another 4-5 years and then see that whether it is this kind of how long it is continuing. Because if we see augmented reality, augmented reality has already crossed that stage. Okay, now we can say that people have understood the what is augmented reality. They can understand that in daily life also they are using augmented reality. Like one very simple example is the Snapchat. Okay, so before our filters, what they are using, right? Before that, they don't have any idea. Although the filters where they were using very very long time, but they don't have any idea that is it augmented reality. But now people have got the idea about the augmented reality. In fact, I am telling you that when I joined IIT Kharagpur in 2018, there was not much idea about augmented reality or virtual reality in India. Not much budge. In fact, so
True.
it's still now also not many. So even in the developing countries, they have just started their journey of augmented reality and virtual reality. Now you see the government of India has understood the potential of these technologies, and I'm just giving one or two examples. In IIT Bhubaneswar, they have a hub they have a special center for augmented reality and virtual reality they have created. Then NCERT, now they have identified 3,000 contents, learning contents from 6 to 12, and they are converting all those contents, whether it's mathematics, whether it's a science, whether it's a social sciences, whether it's a language, they are converting into the augmented reality. So when the next textbooks are coming, you will find out that there will be the QR code where you are scanning, and
Yeah.
those things are coming. So that means when, see, the technology will penetrate when the government will understood the potential of these technologies, right? So the government has understood. So even if you see the national education policy, so I was also the part of national education technology policy, and in that position paper you will find that a lot of discussion is there about the augmented reality, virtual reality, for the training purpose, for the learning purpose. So those things are being included, but not much about the metaverse, because metaverse needs a lot of things. It's not a simple, for virtual reality now it is very costlier, right? So when we are talking about the metaverse, the internet connectivity, the infrastructure, so all those things, it costs you a lot. Specifically when I am talking about countries, developing countries like India, we need a technology which is low cost and scalable in nature, because we have a larger population, right? So how we are going to feed those population, right, when we are talking about a simple technology? If you see that before 2016, how augmented reality got the attention from the people, because the data cost and the smartphone cost, it decreased, right? So everyone, now you can see that India is second number in the world for the internet penetration, and also for the, I think, largest consumer of smartphones in the world. So for augmented reality, we just need smartphone. So that is very compatible, right? You are developing, whether you are developing the marker based, whether you are developing a markerless, so it could be implemented easily. People can have the experience of the augmented reality, right? So for this virtual reality, still, I feel that still the cost is decreased, right? If you compare 2013-14, the cost during that time and the cost at now. So, but still it will take some time. More companies are coming after the COVID. Google has Alpha also, Alpha also have understood. So they are also investing a lot of money in these technologies. In fact, Apple also has also entered in the market. So the more players, so the more competition, so the cost will be reduced. And then the penetration of this type of technologies will be high, right? So for metaverse, I think we still need to wait for some time to see how long it is going to survive, and then only we can say that whether it is successful technology or I don't know.
Yeah. So actually, so I was actually reading the Gartner hype cycle, and
Yes.
over there I saw that they have, in fact, they have been mentioning the metaverse somewhere in this flow, and then
Right.
they projected timeline for the metaverse to flourish is somewhere around 5 to 10 years.
Yes.
So I think the technology will certainly evolve, and and we just have to wait now. So,
So
so
you can see the cycle there. So augmented reality has already crossed. So it is in the stable stage, right? So even the VR is somewhat between, but metaverse is still will take another 5 to 10 years.
yes. So basically, since we're talking about virtual reality, in the higher education, I would like to talk about the technological integration in the classroom. So in fact, I was talking to a lot of professors, and then I mentioned about the different education phases. So in the education 1.0, where we talk about blackboards, and in the education 2. And 3.0, we are talking about smartphones, and now we have new emerging technologies. So, as an educator, do you see that we have transitioned ourselves from that education 1.0 to education 4.0? Or do you see that a lot of universities across India and maybe globally are still in that older phase?
I think, as I mentioned, see, education 4.0, when we are talking about, that means everyone has access to these technologies, but that is not true. Okay, still we have the term, if you have the term called digital divide. Okay, some universities, they have the money, they have the resources, so maybe they can have this technology with them, and their students could afford that. But state colleges, if you see, they don't have much basic infrastructure. If you see, that is also not there. Okay, so internet connectivity, if you see, that is also not much. A lot of improvement is still requires. I'm not saying that it is not in the good condition, but still the better condition is required. So I'm talking about the infrastructure requirement in developing countries like in India. Okay, so I think still we have started the journey, but it's a long way to go. Okay, until unless the infrastructure will be ready for implementation of this technology, number one. Number two, the cost of the devices, even if you are going for the now Oculus, so it will cost you around 50,000, something like that, right? So how many devices you can purchase, right? Suppose, so it, because we have a big population also. I'm taking a course where 300 students are there. I can't provide all the students a VR device, even if we are talking about the Google Cardboard also, but that is that is the immersion is not so much, right?
Question is not high, right?
Right. So everyone will like to have the quality of immersion. Like if we are talking about the fully immersive virtual reality, so for that we need to have either now we have the Meta Pro. So if you see the Meta Pro, the cost is very high. I can't even being a top class institution in India, I can't have so many devices for every student, right? So that is another factor is there. So these two factors, once we can solve, and another thing is that in India we need to think about the manufacturing of these devices, because most of the devices that are coming either for made in China or somewhat from abroad, so where the custom duty and all those things are there, which is increasing the price of the, until we have our own, made in India VR devices, which is providing the same experience as these other companies like Samsung or HP or STC or Oculus is providing. So then only will be much more, like now you can see the mobile phones which we have. So suddenly the cost has decreased, right? Because it is manufactured in India. So that is one of the key factor. We need to focus manufacturing of devices in India. Then only the penetration of these technologies will be high, and integration of these technologies will be easier for higher education. And see, one another thing is that many people will comment that we don't have even basic structure. So that is not the thing. If we don't have any basic structure, so that doesn't mean that we will not implement any kind of technology in the classroom. See, parallelly the things will improve, right? If you see, if you compare, when I was a school student, so during my time only one computer was there for 35 students, but now things have changed. Everyone has access to the computer, right? We need to go for 10 kilometers to access the internet connection, but now it's at your pocket, right? So things are changing. So if during that time everyone will think that no, all the people will have the computers, then only we can, something like that, so we will never improve. So parallelly, both the things will improve, and technology integration will be there. Another thing is that I believe one more factor is that professional development of the teachers, right? Whether it's a higher education or whether it's a school education, that is very important. How you are going to integrate if you don't have the courses, right? If you see, I think IIT Kharagpur is the only institute in India where we have a specific course about augmented reality and virtual reality. To the best of my knowledge, I am saying. Okay, I have come across all these things. Maybe there are some professional courses, they are providing certificate course, but as a BTech, under the BTech, if you have any specific elective course, I don't think that any IIT is providing this course. To the best of my knowledge, I'm saying. Maybe some is providing, but to my knowledge. So that kind of course is very important, because when the students will go through these courses, they will understand the potential of this technology. So they are actually torch bearers of this technology. So I remember, so I have started this course, and some of my students now, they are planning to have their own startup in this area. So that will motivate the students, and that will give the opportunity, and the market will grow, and this kind of, they will think that how to decrease the cost of this thing. They, one of my students is also thinking and plan, they are doing some kind of startup about the VR devices, how to decrease the weight of, right, and of the VR device, and some other levels they are working on that. So that kind of motivation is needed. Until unless you are providing the courses, until unless you are exposing them to these kind of technologies, is very difficult.
Yes, sir. So those were some great points, sir. Basically, what I would like to highlight is that, when we talk about technological integration in the classroom, and I feel that as an educator, there has to be like certain challenge that the educator is facing, and then there is an intervention of a technology. So, as an educator, what kind of challenges do you think the traditional teaching pedagogy has, and how technology can solve that issue?
So So I am just giving one example. So you know why Chinese people, they use chopstick. Do you have any idea? So I was in China, I was in Taiwan and China for almost 4 5 years. So I asked the people that why you are using the chopstick. So why not you are using your hand? So they said that the chopstick can reach that place even where your hand can't go. So same thing is the technology. Okay. So one another problem with the people is that when we are talking about the technology, so they think that we can implement technology everywhere for any topic. That is not true. Where it is necessary, you need to implement that. I am giving one example, very simple example. Taipei 101 is one of the, I think it was the first tallest building in the world, but after Burj Khalifa is the second tallest building in the world. And Taipei is prone to typhoon also and earthquake also. But if you see the structure of Taipei 101, it's a marvelous mechanical engineering is being implemented there. Now, here we are teaching the structural engineering and other stuff, and there they use a tuned mass damper. If you're from the mechanical engineering, so you may understand the tuned mass damper. For the tall buildings they use, but in Taipei 101 they have used pendulum tuned PTMD, pendulum tuned mass damper. Now I can't take all my students from IIT Kharagpur to visit Taipei 101 to experience the Taipei 101 and to view that structure. However, I can create a virtual reality experience for them to understand the physics behind that. Let them explain, let them experience that thing, and I can create the whole simulation for them, and I'm giving them to operate, and I'm giving the conditions that, okay, when typhoon will come, when earthquake will come, then what is the physics behind it, how you are going to change the variables there. So that is the experience that I can provide using this kind of technology, which is not possible in traditional way of teaching. In traditional way, what we are going to do, we will just write the equation. We'll say that this variable will change and then it will happen. This will the effect. But until unless you have your own experience, you are changing the variables and simulations, and then you are experiencing the feel, right? When the earthquake is coming, and then you are changing the variable, whether it is increasing the earthquake intensity of the earthquake or decreasing the intensity of earthquake, that feeling that is being provided by the virtual reality. So that is where virtual reality plays a game changer, I can say, right? So there are many examples are there where we can think about that how virtual. Another example in chemistry, we R or S configuration. It's very difficult to understand because what we are learning. So basically 3D models are there which are being taught on the 2D board, right? It's very difficult to understand or to visualize those concepts. But if I am providing a 3-dimensional experience for the students for our RROS configuration, we did a lot of research also here. So that changes their conceptual ideas, and they feel, okay, this is the way through which we can visualize the things. So yes, that is the way we can have.
Yes, sir. So actually, I had just a follow-up question. You just mentioned that VR can really help in visualization, and when it comes to engineering education, where do you see VR being used? So what are the practical approaches to that? Any more examples that you can highlight?
An example I have given. Another example I am giving about the lathe machine. Okay, what happens that there is a single lathe machine. So see, IIT Kharagpur is a topmost, so we have a multiple lathe machine. Okay, but if you go small engineering college, maybe one lathe machine or two lathe machine, that's it. But you have 90 students, and there might be one technical assistant who is explaining there. And for that also, if you see the lathe machine inside, there are so many components are there. The technician is not opening the whole lathe machine and teaching you what are the components inside that and what are the functions of each component. But if you have a whole lathe machine in a virtual lab, so then you can disassemble, you can assemble, you can identify different functions, you can integrate some videos, you can integrate some kind of simulations, you can have a avatar which is explaining different parts. So that could be done even if you don't need any kind of technician. right? So that kind of thing, a lot of experiments are there where, you know, you can implement in engineering, specifically in engineering, medical, a lot of applications are there. We are developing a heart simulation, so how the heart is pumping the blood. It's very difficult concept, the anatomy of your muscle movement. So we did a lot of research also. It is under review also, and we found that the students who were being taught traditional, and then we exposed them this kind of technology, they were very fascinated with this thing. And conceptually also we got a lot of positive feedback about using of virtual reality for teaching this kind of concept, because these are very complex concepts and it needs a lot of visualization. The place where you need a lot of 3D visualization, where the perfect solution is the virtual reality and augmented reality.
Yes, sir. So basically, now we are talking about, we have so many use cases of virtual reality in education. So, what the next question that I have is that and since we are talking about virtual reality in higher education, so why do you think that VR lab, setting up a VR lab in higher education is a necessity now? And in higher education institutions should definitely look into it.
Yes, I totally agree with you that I feel that every engineering college, at least they should have one VR setup for them, so that, you know, the first thing is that students will be exposed to this technology, so they will be motivated to work in this area, because I believe that it's a huge market. I'm not talking only about the teaching and learning. I'm talking about the money also, because I believe that India needs more startup companies. Okay. And India has a lot of potential also, and Indian students have a lot of potential also. Until unless these students are exposed to this technology, how they are going to be motivated, how they will be, you know, knowing about this kind of technology, and they will have the info to learn this kind of technologies. Okay. So for that, we must have a, you know, exemplar VR lab. And as far as possible, we must have to need to develop contents related to the engineering. Like suppose different, we can have like experts. We have already subject experts in every engineering college, like mechanical engineering, they have subject experts about thermodynamics or structural or other stuff. So they can give us the storyboard, and you can hire some 2 or 3 engineers or 3D modelers, so they can, based on their requirements. So there also we can also do one thing, that there could be a platform where all the colleges and universities and engineering colleges, they can share their content. It can be an open source platform where anyone can use the content from that, right? So that is very much necessary. I think, as you said, that VR is a necessity for higher education today. Definitely, I totally agree with you.
Great, sir. So basically, I would like to, now talk about the pedagogical approaches. So basically, one of the essence of VR is gamification. And so how do you see gamification playing a great role in giving students the autonomy and self-directed learning?
Yes. See, when we are talking about uh, games, I think not a single person in this world doesn't like any type of game. Okay, whether it's a physical game, video game, any type of game. Okay, and through gamification, we are not only have the entertainment. When I'm talking about the serious games, so games are also different types. When I'm talking about the serious games are the games which have predefined objectives, right? Let us assume I'm developing a game which is going to teach a student addition and subtraction. Just a simple example I'm taking of. So through the gamification, the student is also playing the game. He has entertainment also, and conceptual understanding also. What gamification is doing is motivating the student, right? Because sometimes even we are using the virtual reality. Okay, if you don't get the excitement, right? If there is just like a, simple interaction is going on, interaction is fine, but you need excitement also. If you are creating some labels, okay, and then you are finishing a label, so you feel very motivated, you boosted. So next, let me go to another label. So that kind of self motivation, is very important in the virtual. If we integrate the gamification in virtual reality, So it increases the effectiveness. Another thing is that through gamification we can give feedback also, whether it's a real-time feedback you can give, or at the end of the whole, suppose you are doing a one industrial training, okay, for any training for any equipment, operation of any equipment or something like that, and you have added the gamification part. So for each label, if he or she is crossing that, so you are getting the badges, you are getting the points, and if you can have the live. So a lot of gamification could be done, which will create a lot of excitement also, which will create a lot of motivation also, which will create a competitiveness also. When you're having a leaderboard, you have 10 students of your, of peer group, you can have competition with among yourself also. Okay, I will perform better than this. So that kind of thing, gamification helps. So I think that's a lot of operational training and industrial training, they are integrating gamification in virtual reality.
True. So basically, I happen to read one of your research papers, which is the potential in VR trends. I think this is the research paper where you talked about certain prerequisites to create a virtual reality content. So could you just highlight a bit few, like in the sense, what are the prerequisites that are required to, create a VR content for the higher education?
See, 2-3 things we must need to understand. First, obviously, you must have the technical background. Either you are using the Unreal or you are using the Unity, so that it is required. Second thing, you must need to understand the requirement and needs of your users. Okay, because you are not designing for yourself, you are designing for, let us assume, if for undergraduate students. So you must need to understand what are the problems that they are facing for a specific concept. Okay, after that, you must have some ideas about the design principles. Okay, there are Richard Mayer is one of the famous researcher in cognitive theory of multimedia learning. When we are using virtual reality, a lot of multiple representations we are using. I mean, to representations multiple, that means the audio, the video, the computer graphics, the symbolic representations. When you are using the multiple representation, there is a risk of cognitive overload. Okay, I'm talking about a little bit psychology, so I'm giving very simple example. Like CPU, our brain has also limited, we have the RAM, we have the hard disk, okay, and the processing. So we have, suppose let us assume you are running a game in a 4 GB RAM with a computer and with limited version of graphics, right? What will happen? The system will stop simply, right? Because it has not that capacity to process the information. So similar to our brain also, we have a working memory, okay, short-term memory and long-term memory. Long-term memory, where the information, when it is processed, it is stored. And working memory is the capacity to process any kind of information, okay. But that working memory is very limited in our brain. When you are exposing a user to multiple representations, so what happens that sometimes the working capacity is less, so it is not able to process that information. So we need to be very careful when we are designing the virtual reality experience for the user. Don't add too much of animation, too much of colors, too much of, so that design principles he has, Richard Mayer has proposed 12 15 principles are there. So when you are using those principles, then it will be very useful when you are designing the VR content. Another thing is that you must have the ability to do the user experience also. Research about the user experience, or we can also call it as a usability testing. Okay. We also need to understand that we being as individual, we have the individual differences also. Some people may not, you can also find out that some people, they face some issues about the nausea or cyber sickness when they are using the virtual reality, right? So you need to think from that perspective also, right? You need to create a content which can feed larger population. I'm not saying that whatever you are creating will be suitable for each and every individual, because that is not correct. Because psychologically, and also genetically we are different. Okay, some people may like your content, some people may not like your content, but as far as possible you need to develop a content which will be general purpose, where the people will have some consensus that yes, it is perfectly okay. So usability testing is another thing. And also this with the experts, subject matter experts, sometimes what we do that, we ignore the teachers. So take one teacher also in your team when you are designing any kind of content, so that he or she can give you regular feedback, because at the end you have the role as a technologist, you have a role to develop this kind of content and technology for the users. But at the end, teacher is going to use that, right? If he or she is not able to understand your content, how he or she is going to deliver those contents? So these are the some of the things that we must need to consider when we are developing the virtual reality content, specifically for the educational sector.
Great, sir. I think you rightly said that before developing the VR content, we need to understand the teacher perspective and the user perspective. That's the students. So yeah, so just a follow up question to that. So I think it was in your research paper as well, which is the different pedagogies that come into when it comes to virtual reality. So we have the theory of constructivism, then we have the David Cope's learning theory, and we have the Bloom taxonomy. So do you
Yeah.
think that, so when it comes to reality, uh, which pedagogy is well suited, or do you think that VR needs to have its own pedagogical theory as such?
Yes, nowadays a lot of research is also going on where we are working on for the to develop pedagogical principles for this kind of interactive technologies. Okay, because when we are talking about the constructivism or collaborative learning, these are old theories, okay, which were developed based on the context during that time. But now things are changing. Okay, so with the time, so the theories also need to be updated. So you can see that even the cognitive theory of multimedia learning, initially Richard Mayer proposed 10 principles. Now it has increased. So he has added 2-3 more principles related, because based on this virtual reality and augmented reality. So things are updating, and there are some principles are already developed. So one of the paper I can recommend also by Meena Johnson. So she is actually one of the key researcher in the field of virtual reality from Arizona State University. So she has also listed 10 principles when we are talking about the pedagogy with virtual reality, and how virtual reality should be integrated, how it should be developed, and what type of cautions you need to take care when you are implementing the virtual reality. So those kind of things she has discussed. So there are some other researchers are also there who are working to develop a pedagogical model specifically for these interactive technologies. So because these technologies are still not in very advanced stage, I think still the interaction, there are some limitations with this technology. Specifically when I'm talking about the virtual reality, there are still some limitations are there. There is no clear definition what is a good interaction, what is a bad interaction in virtual reality, right? So still a lot of research is going on, a lot of research about the pedagogical implementation, because we cannot until unless we are doing the intervention using these pedagogy principles, we cannot say that these are foolproof, right? So still a lot of research is going on, and hopefully I think in the next 4-5 years we will have a concrete, like constructivism, behaviorism, or collaborative learning or cooperative learning, all those kind of things. So we will have also some concrete pedagogic principles will be there for specifically for these interactive technologies.
Great, sir. So, one thing which has really fascinated me about VR, and when it comes to students learning. So, what kind of, as an educator, what kind of assessment or evaluation do you think that should be counted when we are giving, when students are learning in virtual reality?
So I'm just giving from my own experience. We do a lot of intervention research using virtual reality and augmented reality, and there are different types of assessments you can do. First, of course, we want to measure the conceptual understanding. So for which we do a lot of learning assessment tools. We develop a lot of assessment tools to measure the learning performance in different domains, whether it's for the engineering or mathematics or sciences, all those things. Second, we also measure their motivation level. Then there are some skills which are also measuring the degree of immersion. Okay, and then we are also taking physiological data like eye tracking. We are using a lot of eye tracking to understand their visual attention, because if you use eye tracking machines of which exact place they focus a lot, so that will give you the idea. And we do a lot of qualitative research also. So we identified the heat map. We also track their pathway when they are looking at the screen. Okay, so from that we identify what is the issue, and then we take the interview with the students also with the video that you are looking at this point. So have you faced any issues there, or anything special you found there? So a lot of things there. We also now we are doing a lot of research with the EEG. So we use EEG machine. When the people are using a virtual reality device, we take the brain signals and we extract the brain signals from there, and then we do a lot of analysis using the brain signals. So another very important thing is that we measure also the cognitive load. Whether when we are using the virtual reality, they are being exposed to the virtual reality, whether the cognitive load is increased as compared to the traditional way of teaching, or it is decreased as compared to the traditional. So we compare, because cognitive load is one of the key factor that we must need to control when we are exposing the users to the virtual reality. And quantification. So there are in the past, I think people used to have self-reported questionnaire for cognitive load, but now in my lab we are using the EEG machine. We are using the brain signals to quantify this cognitive load. So through which we can generate the brain signals, and we are using the machine learning to identify and calculate the cognitive load. So this type of research we are doing for the assessment purpose for virtual reality.
Great, sir. So I think one of the things about VR is that it has an embodied experience. It provides an embodied experience. So that means that it's like walking in someone else's shoes. So, sir, when it comes to STEM careers, so how do you see that VR can actually play motivate students to be really good at it?
Yes, so I think virtual reality is one of the technology which can motivate students a lot in STEM career. So I think recently during the National Science Day, we have exhibit a virtual reality, and school students, they visited. We have a Nehru Museum in IIT Kharagpur, and when they use the virtual reality, and we have exposed them to some of the science experiments using the virtual reality, and they were very fascinated, and they think that, okay, we have never thought that electric field will be like this and magnetism will be like this. So that for STEM education, you really need a lot of motivation. Once the students, they are fascinated the beauty of science, okay, if they understand that science has a lot of beauty, so they will definitely pursue their careers in STEM. And for India specifically, if we really want to be the leader in the market of whether science or science and technology, we must need to promote our students to STEM careers right from the very early stage, whether it's grade 5, grade 6. We must need to, because day by day I'm finding that the interest is decreasing. Okay, maybe the way we are teaching, or I don't know, there are some issues are there. Okay, but it's the right time where I think in the national education policy also a lot of things are being discussed to how we can motivate the students and promote more STEM careers. So that is very much interest, and that is a area where virtual reality can play a key role to motivate the students about the STEM careers.
Great, sir. So, so just before we wrap the webinar, I just have one question. When it comes to technological interventions in higher education, I believe that there is kind of a skepticism within the decision makers, or it can be an educator, because there is a traditional pedagogy which is already going on, and having a new technology means moving out of the comfort zone. So, how do you see that getting removed or mitigated, and so that there is a clear plan as to how to set up a, let's say, a VR lab in the institution? So how to remove that fear that an educator would have?
See, this is not a new thing. Whenever a new technology is coming, some part of or some section of people will oppose. Okay. Now you can see that ChatGPT has been launched. A lot of criticism. Some people are supporting that ChatGPT can revolutionize the education system. There was a newspaper article also that a student who was not performing very good in the school examination, but he was using ChatGPT and he scored more than 90% something scores. Okay, so there are two sides are there. Okay, and these things will fade. Okay, the fearness will fade. I remember when there was an article also when a computer was launched in India during Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. So a lot of oppose was there. People thought that these computers will take their job. Right. Same thing is happening now also with the Chat GPT, that people are saying that AI and other stuff, they will take their job, and more unemployment will be there. Until and unless you are updating yourself. So those people who are not updating themselves, so will criticize this kind of technology. Okay. So I feel that with the time, when, like I am saying that 2016, many countries celebrated the year of virtuality. But when I arrived here in India, 2018, there was no buzz about augmented reality or virtual reality. But with the time, after 5 years, I am realizing that yes, now you can see the government has also launched a lot of programs related to the VR and AR. So they have understood. With time, they will understand that these technologies have potential. These are the game changers and will definitely will help for when we are talking about the industry 4.0, will definitely help to get skilled workforce for industry 4.0. So I think government knows these things, and they have also some plans. So one thing is that the professional training is definitely required for the people, until unless those people who are in the universities, if they don't have the expertise in virtual reality, so then how they are going to, even the government is giving the money, let us assume government is giving the money to set up the lab and everything, but the people who are in the university, though they don't have any idea of the virtual reality, so then that will be a failure stage. So I think before implementation, first you need to expose those people to these technologies, let them get some expertise in that, and then you set up the lab. I think that will be the perfect plan.
Great, sir. So we have few attendees, and we can say, let me just ask them if they have any questions. So if you have any questions, you can just drop in the Q&A section. I think so we can wrap up the webinar. So thank you so much for for such an insightful session. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you, Pratik.
Thank you.